Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today's story is not really about a tennis match. It's not about a forehand down the line, a breakpoint conversion, or even a championship trophy. What we're witnessing is something far stranger and far more disruptive. An unexpected shift in the balance of power in global sports culture, one that unfolded quietly at first and then erupted loudly on the outer courts of Melbourne Park. If you pull up the official results from the 2026 Australian Open, you'll see a fact that looks ordinary, almost boring. Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old prospect from the Philippines, lost her opening round match. She was beaten in 3 sets by American Alicia Parks. In the unforgiving math of professional tennis, that's a failure. She lost. Her tournament ended early. She packed her bags and prepared to head home. By traditional standards, her campaign should have faded into obscurity. But we no longer live in a traditional sporting world. We live in the attention economy. And in that world, visibility matters more than scorelines. Measured by that standard, Alexandra Eala didn't lose the Australian Open at all. She captured something far more powerful. Let's focus on a single number, because this one statistic has left media analysts, sponsors, and tournament officials openly stunned. Before the event began, the Australian Open's official YouTube channel uploaded press conferences from the sport's biggest stars: Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, and Aryna Sabalenka, the reigning Australian Open champion and current WTA world number 1, widely regarded as the most dominant force in women's tennis today. Sabalenka's pre-tournament press conference drew roughly 8,000 views in its first 24 hours. That's perfectly normal for a routine media session. Now compare that to Alexandra Eala. At the time, she had never played a main draw match at the Australian Open. She was unseeded, largely unknown to casual fans, and ranked well outside the elite tier. Her press conference video, more than 171,000 views. That gap is not trivial. It's not noise in the data. It's not a rounding error. It's a difference so extreme it breaks conventional logic. Respected tennis journalist Ben Rothenberg looked at those numbers and posed a question that would have sounded ridiculous just a few years ago. Is Alexandra Eala already the most popular player in women's tennis? Think about how absurd that sounds on paper. No Grand Slam titles. No top 10 ranking. And yet, in the digital arena that drives endorsement deals, broadcast interest, and long-term star power, she is outperforming the sport's established royalty. Something cracked open in Melbourne this week. The old rule that says you must win to matter simply stopped working. When Eala walked on a court 6, it wasn't just a tennis match taking place. It felt like a mass gathering, a celebration, a moment of collective identity. The tournament made a critical miscalculation. They scheduled her on a small outer court meant for quiet, low-profile matches. What they didn't realize was that they were trying to contain a tidal wave in a space built for a ripple. Thousands of Filipino fans flooded Melbourne Park. They filled every seat. They lined the fences. They packed the walkways 10 rows deep. The noise rivaled what you'd expect at a football final, not a first-round tennis match on a weekday afternoon. And inside that chaos, we saw something new take shape, a different kind of power in tennis. For decades, the sport has looked to Europe and North America for its next icons. The next Serena, the next Sharapova, the next crossover superstar. But the real sleeping giant of sports fandom has been somewhere else entirely. Southeast Asia. And it just woke up. While Aryna Sabalenka continues to dominate matches and collect titles, Alexandra Eala is doing something different. She's capturing hearts. She's commanding attention. She's winning something larger than matches. Today, we're going deeper. We're breaking down the numbers. We're examining what happened on court 6. We're addressing the controversy surrounding crowd behavior. And we're asking the biggest question of all. Did tennis just cross a point of no return? Are we entering an era where fame can eclipse results? This isn't a match recap. It's a case study in how global icons are born. What happened on Monday was, from a logistical standpoint, a failure. To understand why, you need to understand how a Grand Slam operates. Melbourne Park is enormous. Rod Laver Arena is the main stage, reserved for champions. Margaret Court Arena and John Cain Arena follow. These courts are ticketed, heavily secured, and designed for massive crowds. Then there are the outer courts, courts like 6, 8, and 13. These are where qualifiers and journeymen usually play. The crowds are thin. You can hear individual conversations. Matches are scheduled there based on predicted interest. If you're world number 1, you're on Rod Laver. If you're an unseeded qualifier like Eala, you're sent to court 6. That's standard practice. What the algorithm failed to account for was the Filipino diaspora. There are nearly 60,000 Filipino-born residents in Melbourne alone. And on that day, it felt like every one of them showed up. Long before the warm-up began, the area around Court 6 was jammed. Security wasn't managing spectators so much as controlling human traffic. This was the Manny Pacquiao effect, translated to tennis. When Pacquiao fought, entire cities in the Philippines would shut down. Crime rates dropped. Streets went silent. What we saw in Melbourne was the early version of that same phenomenon. Eala isn't just an athlete to these fans. She represents visibility, identity, possibility. Flags waved. Chants echoed. Her name drowned out matches on nearby courts. Which brings us to the controversy. Tennis has unwritten rules. Silence during points. Respectful applause. No cheering for an opponent's mistake. On Court 6, those rules collapsed. When Alicia Parks double faulted, the crowd erupted. When she missed, cheers followed. Parks later admitted the atmosphere was difficult. That was an understatement. She was effectively playing a road game in a neutral country. The reaction online was immediate. Traditionalists were furious, arguing the behavior disrespected the sport. Others countered that this raw energy is exactly what tennis needs in an era dominated by faster, louder entertainment. Was it messy? Yes. Was it sometimes inappropriate? Probably. But it was alive, and it mattered. Now, the match itself tells an important story. Eala came out flying. She took the first set 6-0. A bagel at this level, against a top 100 opponent, is no joke. She neutralized Park's serve, redirected pace, and fed off the crowd. For a moment, it looked like destiny. But tennis punishes inexperience. Parks regrouped. She found her range. The pressure shifted. Suddenly, Eala wasn't chasing. She was protecting. Errors crept in. The serve faltered. Parks took the second set 6-3 and the third 6-2. Eala lost. And somehow, it didn't matter. Normally, early hype dies with an early exit. Sponsors hesitate. Media attention moves on. With Eala, the loss added depth to the story. The bagel showed her ceiling. The collapse showed her youth. And the crowd never abandoned her. They stayed. They chanted. They believed. That's the difference between a promising player and a true icon. Let's return to that YouTube comparison. 171,000 views versus 8,000. Aryna Sabalenka is a two-time Australian Open champion, the WTA world number 1, and one of the most compelling players in the game. So why is she losing the attention battle? It comes down to scale and scarcity. Belarus has about 9 million people. The Philippines has over 115 million. But more importantly, the Philippines has a hero vacuum. For 2 decades, Manny Pacquiao carried the nation's sporting identity. Since his retirement, that energy has been searching for a new outlet. It has found one. When Filipinos watch Eala, they aren't just watching tennis. They're watching representation. They're watching their flag appear in a space that has historically ignored them. That makes her a marketing dream for the WTA. Women's tennis has struggled to build new global narratives since Serena Williams stepped away. Eala opens an entire region. Not just one country, but an entire market. Brands see those numbers. They don't care about the first-round loss. They care about reach. What comes next is just as important. Eala is leaving Melbourne to return to Manila, where she'll compete in the inaugural Philippine Women's Open, a WTA 125 event created largely because of her rise. She'll be welcomed as a hero. She'll likely win matches. She'll build confidence. But there's risk. We've seen this before. Fame arriving before dominance can be dangerous. Media obligations, national pressure, endless expectations. She stands at a crossroads. She carries the visibility of a world number 1, but the game of a developing top 50 player. The next year will define whether those two paths converge. We often define a rival in sports by trophies and rankings. But Alexandra Eala has redefined it. To arrive is to command attention, to make a side court feel like the center of the universe, to turn a first-round loss into the most talked-about moment of the week. Out of 128 women in the draw, one will lift the trophy. But on that electric night on Court 6, the trophy wasn't the point. The crowd was. People didn't click on her press conference to hear a winner speak. They clicked because they wanted to hear her. She is no longer just a tennis player. She is a movement, a symbol. And for one remarkable week in Australia, she was undeniably more famous than the woman holding the crown. The wins will come. The trophies may follow. But the stardom is already here. Alexandra Eala lost a match, but she won the attention war. And in 2026, that victory echoes louder than any scoreboard. I'm your host. This has been our Deep Dive report. Keep watching the game, but more importantly, keep watching the young woman from the Philippines. The world already is